All right, thank you guys. And following Saturday's sports wagering action, we're 4-0 with a push in our last 5 college basketball tier package picks on BrockPage.com. And the link for that package is in the description section below. $1,000 bettors are up over $3,600 during that span. And following Saturday's sports betting action, we're also 2-0 with a push in our last 3 NBA tier package picks on that very same webpage. And as always, guys, all the plays that I give out on BrockPage.com, they're my personal bets, games that I personally have action on. And with that, let's get into some college basketball action here. We're going to start with Pitt taking on Virginia Tech, 7 o'clock Eastern tip-off on Monday, February 7th, 2022. Vatex minus 13.5, totals 129. Now, the Hokies are on a 3-game winning streak right now. And that includes an outright victory over Pitt during that span. The Hokies are also winning 70% of their home games this year. And they're led by Kaveh Aluma, who's scoring over 15 points a game, along with 6 rebounds and 2 assists. Meanwhile, Hunter Cattoor is drilling 47% of his three-pointers. He's also averaging double-digit points a game. Now, the Hokies are actually in the top 3 in the nation in offensive three-point percentage. Meanwhile, defensively, Virginia Tech's in the top 25 in rebounding per game. They're actually limiting their competition to just 60 points per contest at home. Now, they're taking on a Pitt team who doesn't really score a whole lot themselves. They're averaging only 60 points a game on the road. They're actually making only 40% of their field goals in that same category. Now, total-wise, 5 out of Pitt's last 8 fell under the posted number. Meanwhile, Virginia Tech saw unders recently with NC State and Virginia. I'm going to lean toward Virginia Tech minus 13.5 and the under 129. Next matchup, it is going to be Temple versus USF. And that's going to be a 7 o'clock Eastern start time. Temple is minus 4.5 with a total at 117. Now, the Owls have been absolute covering machines here recently. They're 8-1 against the spread in their last 9. And they got the outright W 7 times during that stretch. Now, Temple plays some of the toughest defense in the AAC. As a matter of fact, these guys are in the top 5 in the nation in defensive field goal percentage on the road. Scoring-wise, Damian Dunn, he's averaging over 15.5 points per contest, along with 4 boards and a couple assists. Meanwhile, Jeremiah Williams, he's averaging double-digit points a game himself, along with 3 rebounds and 4 assists as well. And speaking of offensive production, Temple currently finds themselves in the top 35 in the country in offensive rebounding per game on the road. They're taking on a USF team who's amongst the worst scoring teams in the country. The Bulls are averaging only 57 points a game on their home court. And they're also shooting just 37% from the field there. Now, even worse than that, USF is making only 24% of their three-pointers all season long. Now, total-wise, the Bulls have gone 90% to the under on their home court this year. They're also 15-5 to the under for the entire season at any location. Meanwhile, Temple is 5-1 to the under in their last 6 themselves. I'm going to lean toward Temple minus 4.5. In the under 117. Next matchup should be a good one. I'm talking about Virginia versus Duke, 7 p.m. Eastern start time. Now, this game's currently off the board. The Blue Devils are amongst the more powerful offensive teams in the NCAA. They're actually in the top 15 in offensive field goal percentage. And they're scoring 84 points a game at Cameron Indoor. Paolo Banchero, he's scoring 17.5 points a game, along with 8 boards and a couple assists. Meanwhile, Wendell Moore Jr., he's making over 40% of his three-pointers. He's also averaging 14 points a game. Now, when it comes to defensive play in this one, Duke allows only 64 points per contest, and they're limiting their opponents to just 39% shooting from the field. They're taking on a Virginia team who's really not a prolific scoring program. The Cavaliers are averaging just 61 points a game. And they're amongst the worst in the ACC in offensive rebounding. And when it comes to road games in this one, Virginia got the W in just 3 out of their last 8 away from home. I'm going to go ahead and lean toward Duke winning this one outright for some money line cash. Of course, I'll be on the lookout for this game once a proper line is released for the game. You never know if it's a good line, juicy line. I might fire on that personally. You might see that on my website tomorrow. But anyway, next contest, it is going to be Furman versus East Tennessee State. And that's going to be a 7 o'clock Eastern tip-off. The Furman Paladins are -5.5, totals 145. Now, Furman's been really good covering the point spread here recently. They're 9-1 against the spread in their last 10 ball games. And they actually got the outright W 8 times during that span. Furman's got one of the more dynamic offensive attacks in the nation. They're actually scoring nearly 80 points a game, and they rank in the top 15 in shooting the three ball. Alex Hunter is drilling 42% of his three-pointers. He's also scoring 14 points a game. Meanwhile, Mike Bothwell's averaging over 15 points per contest himself, along with 4 boards and a couple assists. Now, Furman's making nearly 40% of their three-pointers as a team when they travel. They're taking on an East Tennessee State program who's on a 5-game losing streak, and they cover the number in just 30% of their home games. Now, when it comes to defensive play in this one, the Buccaneers are giving up 73 points per contest on average. When it comes to the scoring in this one, the Bucs did see unders recently with Wofford, Citadel, and Mercer. Meanwhile, Furman's 6-1 to the under in their last 7. I'm going to lean toward Furman -5.5 and the under 145. Next contest, it is going to be George Mason versus Richmond, 7 p.m. Eastern start time. Richmond is -6.5 with the total at 140. Now, the Richmond Spiders have won a good amount of games over the past few weeks. They've won. Man, I can't spit that one out. I'm trying to say something, and I just can't get it out. I just keep stumbling. Let's try it again. The Richmond Spiders have won a good amount of games over the past few weeks or so. That's the sentence I was trying to say. Still didn't get it out really all that good. But anyway, having said that, though, Richmond, they're covering the number in just 36% of their home games, and they're letting their opponents make 40% of their three-pointers against them at the Robins Center. Now, they're taking on a George Mason team who won 4 out of their last 6 themselves, and they rank in the top 20 in the country in road three-point shooting. Devin Cooper is making nearly 44% of his three-pointers. He's also averaging 13 points a game. Meanwhile, Devontae Gaines is making 45% of his three balls, and he's averaging over 11 points per contest as well. Now, when it comes to defensive play, George Mason's in the top 20 in the country in defensive rebounding on the road. When it comes to the total in this one, Mason's 70% to the over in their last 10 outings. The Patriots also saw 7 out of their last 10 meetings with Richmond get over the line. So if you're into historical trends, you certainly want to think about that one there. Meanwhile, Richmond, they saw overs recently with Fordham, Davidson, and UMass. I'm going to lean toward George Mason +6.5 and the over 140. Next ball game, it is going to be James Madison versus Drexel, 7 p.m. Eastern tip-off. Drexel's -5.5, totals 150. But despite being favored in this one, Drexel's giving up nearly 72 points a game. And they also have a tough time defending the field goal. Meanwhile, offensively on the other end of the court, the Dragons are also having a pretty hard time grabbing offensive boards. They're taking on a JMU squad who scores over 78 points a game. They currently rank in the top 30 in the nation in offensive field goal percentage. Vado Morse is scoring over 15.5 points per contest, along with 2 boards and a couple assists. Or is that Vado Maurice? I'm probably just butchering both first and last name. Anyway, Charles Falden, he's drilling 44% of his three-pointers. He's also averaging 11 points per contest. Now, when it comes to defensive play, the Dukes are amongst the better defensive rebounding teams on the road in the CAA. Total-wise, JMU saw their last 5 straight all get over the number. They also went 90% to the over in their last 10. Meanwhile, Drexel saw overs with Delaware, William and Mary, and this very JMU team. I'm going to lean toward the JMU Dukes plus 5.5 and the over 150. Next game, Arizona versus Arizona State, 9 o'clock Eastern tip-off. The Arizona Wildcats are minus 16, totals 142. Now, the Wildcats got the W in 8 out of their last 9, and they're actually in the top 3 in the nation in scoring. Arizona's averaging 85 points a game. And they also find themselves in the top 3 in offensive rebounding. Benny Mathurin scoring 16.5 points per contest, along with 6 boards and a couple assists. Meanwhile, Azzy Tabelis is scoring 14 points a game himself, along with 6 rebounds and 2 assists. Arizona makes nearly 49% of their field goals as a team. They're taking on an Arizona State team who lost 7 out of their last 9, and they're scoring just 64 points a game at home. Now, equally as bad, the Sun Devils are making only 38% of their field goals in front of their home fans. When it comes to the total in this one, Arizona State did see overs recently with UCLA and Stanford. Meanwhile, the Wildcats saw 3 out of their last 6 road games get over the line themselves. I'm going to lean toward Arizona minus 16 in the over 142. And with that, guys, we're going to jump into our next and final free pick for the video. It is going to be Kansas versus Texas, 9 o'clock Eastern tip-off. The Kansas Jayhawks are -1 with the total at 137. And I'll tell you what, even though the Jayhawks have been unstoppable at times offensively, they do tend to get a little lax on the defensive end of the court away from home. The Jayhawks are allowing nearly 72 points per contest when they travel. Meanwhile, injury-wise, Martin's still out. Cuff is questionable. They're taking on a Texas team who's really impossible to score against when they're home. The Longhorns allow only 48 points a game at the Irwin Center, and they're limiting their opponents to just 37% shooting from the field there. Needless to say, Texas is leading the entire country in fewest points allowed per contest. Now, scoring-wise, Timmy Allen, he's averaging nearly a dozen points a game, along with 6 boards and a couple assists. Meanwhile, Marcus Carr, he's scoring 11 points a game himself, along with 2 rebounds and 3 assists as well. Now, total-wise, no real surprise here. The Longhorns are 11-4 to the under at home. Meanwhile, Kansas on the other side, they saw their last 3 straight fall under the line themselves. I'm going to lean toward Texas +1 and the under 137. And with that, guys, we're going to jump into our quick pick recap. Powered to you by my website at brockpage.com, where we are currently 4-0 with a push in our last 5 college basketball tier package picks following Saturday's sports wagering action. I like Virginia Tech -13.5 under 129. Temple Owls -4.5 under 117. Give me Duke winning that one outright for some money line cash. Give me Furman -5.5 under 145. I like George Mason +6.5 over 140. Give me James Madison +5.5 over 150. I like the Arizona Wildcats -16 over 142. Before I give you my next and final free pick for the video, one final reminder that we are 2-0 with a push in our last 3 NBA tier package picks following Saturday's sports wagering action. I'm going to lean toward Texas +1 and the under 137. And with that, guys, that's going to do it for me. Don't forget to check me out on brockpage.com. Now, if you guys do end up getting a membership here today on my website, just keep in mind you're going to get billed the day you sign up and then the first of every month following that. I always tell folks in every single video, the earlier in the month you sign up, the better. And if you want to get access to every single pick that I give out on that website, you might want to think about signing up for my board member tier package. Not only are you going to get access to the board member tier pick itself, you're actually going to get access to every single package that I offer on that website. It's an all-inclusive membership. So certainly think about that one there. But most importantly, guys, got to thank you for joining me right here on YouTube. Really hope you enjoy all this great free content, all this great free information. And with that said, guys, happy Sunday or Monday to you, depending on when you're watching this. Best of luck to you. And I look forward to seeing you later on today on my website at brockpage.com.